Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Robbie Falk here, live from the humble abode, Choctaw County, Mississippi. Excited for another night of Talkin Dawgs. Here we're going to discuss all things Mississippi State and, some things that's not Mississippi State. We'll discuss it right here on this live YouTube. I want to remind you guys, if you please, will subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We've had a lot of folks do that over time, and I appreciate that for sure. This YouTube channel's just a few months old, and we've had a great showing on here. So I appreciate all you guys for that, and also appreciate you liking, sharing, whatever you want to do on this YouTube video. I'd appreciate it. But appreciate you guys. I enjoy doing this. Try to do it every week. I don't think we got to do it last week. There was a lot going on with basketball, and of course, we're going to touch on basketball in this live show tonight because there's a lot of excitement around Chris Jans and Sam Purcell and basketball. A lot of it has to do with the fact that football is struggling, and that's fine. We've seen that before at Mississippi State. I go back to the Rick Stansbury years, and basketball excitement was just about at an all-time high, and the football team was just putrid. And sometimes that's how it goes. That has the ability to motivate people, excite people because they want to see a winner. That's why you're seeing a lot of people go over to soccer for Mississippi State. I think that's what's going to happen this year at the Hump. A lot of people just really excited about seeing a winner again and being involved in winning games. It's just been a really difficult year for Mississippi State on the football field, and I think it helped too. Baseball, being much better this past year was good for Mississippi State because it's been just a really tough past year when you think back at football and what went on after Mike Leach passed away and you're in total rebuild mode. It's nice to see some winning again, and basketball, I think, is going to bring that to Mississippi State fans. Speaking of that, we win or lose, we keep rolling over there at maroonandwhitedaily.com, and we would love to have you come join our community of Mississippi State fans. I feel the most passionate Mississippi State fans are right there at Maroon and White Daily, whether it be on the free board with the legendary six-pack speak message board that's been around now for, I think, 20 years at this point. We've partnered with them and the good folks over there at Six Pack. We have a free board for you guys to access, and we have our message board at True Maroon. So two of the best message boards, in my opinion, the two best message boards right there. Got some cool news this week. Our message board is among the top 10 as far as traffic in the network on On3, which is just incredible. When you look at some of the other sites that we have on the network, we're one of the only sites in the top 25 that only have two full-time moderators, and with myself and Paul Jones, and we have quite possibly the highest trafficked message board, in that area of well, we do have the highest traffic among sites that only have two moderators, and we're among the best in the entire network. So it's really cool to see that. And that's the heartbeat of our website, is right there is fans and a lot of you guys too that are on our message board. So I appreciate that. All right, let's dig into this. Let's start with football. It was another tough day for Mississippi State as they went to Knoxville. We knew it was going to be a tough matchup for the Bulldogs. They were going to a top 10 team with, in my opinion, a top 3 atmosphere in the league at Tennessee. Neyland Stadium is one of the best atmospheres in college football, and at nighttime, with what they've done with the lights and the sound and the pageantry of it all, it's a very difficult place to play at night. And Mississippi State went in there with a freshman quarterback, which we're kind of moving. We're getting close to moving past the fact that Michael Van Buren's a freshman because he's played now at Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Those are 3 really big atmospheres to cut your teeth in. So the jitters and all that, we're kind of moving past that. Michael Van Buren, that is about to be a thing of the past as far as an excuse. He's going to go to Oxford in a few weeks, and at that point, he should be a guy that can handle that kind of atmosphere. And we'll see if he's able to do that. But he was not able to handle it on Saturday. A lot of things went wrong for the Bulldogs in the game. He didn't play his best. I think he was 10 of 26 passing. It was his worst passing game of the year. Didn't hit 100 yards. Was sacked 3 times in the game. I thought State ran the ball extremely well. Davon Booth and Johnny Daniels both averaged over 6 yards a rush in the game. State has become a really good running football team, and that's something that they weren't at the beginning of the season. Give a lot of credit to Coach Tucker and what he's done with the running backs. I think piecing that group together without 2 guys that were expected to be towards the top of the depth chart, and Kevon Lee, who was injured against Florida, and then Jeffrey Pittman, who was fighting for starting reps at the beginning of the season. He was dismissed from the team before the season began. You lose those 2 guys. You also didn't have Seth Davis this year, who was injured late last season. So the depth at running back all of a sudden got extremely thin, and it's down to 3 guys. It's down to Davon Booth, Johnny Daniels, and freshman Xavier Gayton. None of those 3 guys played for Mississippi State last year. So 3 brand new running backs. I think Tucker's done a good job with those guys. They've done a really good job adjusting and getting better week after week. And then you look at the offensive line. I think they blocked better. The holes that those guys were running through in between the tackles against a really good defensive line were massive. They did a great job moving people around up front, and that's a really good Tennessee front that they have. So State running the football the way that they did, extremely impressive against a team that's been really good against the run. So I got to give a big shout out, man, that not everything was bad in that game. You can take away some really good things. The fact that they were able to get explosive runs like that with Davon Booth and Jeffrey and Johnny Daniels was huge. That's something you can really build on in these final 2 games of the season. But another thing, I thought the defense played extremely hard in this game. There were some definite lapses out there in the secondary. I thought they defended the run about as good as they could. They were going up against the best running back in the SEC, quite possibly, top 5 in the country this year. 19 touchdowns coming into the game. He's going to end up being the all-time leading rusher for them as far as touchdowns are concerned before it's all said and done, and break a near 100-year record that they have. So, Dylan Sampson is just incredible. And I thought State did a good job against him. He broke off a big run that made up a good portion of his yards. He still rushed for, I think, over 150. So he was still going to rush for over 100 yards regardless. But, that big run was the difference in probably 1 yard per carry. State, for the most part, throughout the night, was holding him to somewhere around 4 yards a carry. He ended up rushing for 5 yards a carry. But for the most part, throughout the game, they were limiting those big runs. So I thought they did a good job there. And like I said, some big passes down the field in the game. But, all things considered, when you think about what they've done the rest of the year, it was okay defensive performance. It was still not very good. But compared to what they've done, against Georgia and Arkansas and Texas, it was okay. But 33-14, Mississippi State drops another game pretty handily. I mean, it never felt like they were truly, they truly had a chance to win that game. And they covered another game against a top 10 opponent, which they've done now 3 for 3 on covering games against the top 10 teams. I don't know if that's something that you're super proud about, but I mean, it is better than the alternative, I guess. The thing now is State they really need to find a way to win next week. I mean, we said that against Arkansas. I feel like we said that against A&M, even though, I predicted them to lose to A&M. Arkansas was a game that I felt like they really had a chance. They just could not do it. But, yeah, Josh, we're going to get there. I just want to run through this real quick. Next week's big. I think, this season looks completely different, as strange as it sounds, if Mississippi State's 3-9 with an SEC win than if they're 2-10 and they go winless. It would be the worst season since 2003. They had a 2-win season, and then it'd be the worst SEC season since 2002 when they went winless. So you would like to avoid that. It's been a tough season regardless, but that's something you can build on to get that win, get the SEC win, and beat a top 25 team in Missouri I think it's a winnable game. I really do. Even if Brady Cook is back, I think that Missouri is a winnable game. State's just going to have to do it, and they have 2 weeks to prepare for it. So, we'll see if they're able to do that. All right, moving on to basketball for Josh and for a lot of you, I'm sure that want to do that. Mississippi State, the men and the women, had a huge week last week, 4-0 between them. The men got 2 big wins over West Georgia and Georgia State, and was really impressed with what they did on the offensive side of things. And it's kind of what we expected with Josh Hubbard having some pieces added around him. When you think about Kanye Clary coming in from Penn State and Claudio Harris coming in from Boston College, you get R.J. Melendez from Georgia, you get Riley Kugel from Florida, and then in the post you added a couple of big pieces and Jeremy Fermana coming in from Rhode Island, and also Michael Nwoko from Miami. And I think, the first 2 games, they are as advertised on the offensive side of the ball. Claudio Harris went off. Both he and Josh Hubbard hit 6 3-pointers in that game, which was incredible. The most 3-pointers in the game, 14, since Chris Jans arrived. And it was just really impressive to watch those two. And the thing about it is, like, I can see anybody stepping into that Claudell Harris role on a single night. I could see Kanye Clary going off for a big game, maybe not doing it the same way that Claudell Harris did with the 3-point shot, but I could see Kanye Clary doing it. I could see Riley Kugel doing it. R.J. Melendez, I could see scoring 15 plus in a game for Mississippi State if needed. And the question now is, can Mississippi State get enough out of its post presence to really make a run this season? And that will be something that remains to be seen. Can Michael Nwoku step up? He started last week in the second game after Keyshawn Murphy got the start at center. I think your best bet, if you're going to have a run this season, the best possible scenario is Michael Nwoku kind of comes into form and becomes the player that he has the potential to be. And Keyshawn Murphy can play that stretch 4 role. If Keyshawn Murphy's playing that stretch 4 and Nwoku's able to be the center that you hope he can be, Mississippi State can be very dangerous. I mean, that's 5 positions that are going to be very difficult to guard, and at least 4. Even if Nwoku doesn't give you 10 to 12 points or something like that, if he can come in and rebound the ball consistently and defend down there, and then you get a lot from Keyshawn Murphy, and you know what you're going to get from Cam Matthews at the 3 or the 4, whatever. State's got so many pieces if they can just get that taken care of. And that's a big question mark. You don't have a true center down there anymore like Tolu Smith, and you're not going to get the minutes that you got from Jimmy Bell, where he was, down there getting rebounds and very difficult to keep off the boards. State rebounded really well last year, and that's going to be a challenge this season. We knew that was going to be a challenge coming in. But can you offset that by what you do offensively? That's kind of the question for Mississippi State going into the season. Can the offense be that much better that it might not matter as much? Now, you still need to rebound the ball. You still need to be productive down there and keep other teams off the boards enough. But do you have to do it in the rate you were doing last year where you're usually winning that battle? I don't. I think State can get away with that. I think they can lose the rebound battle sometimes. I don't think they need to be destroyed on the backboards, but 5-10 rebounds a game difference in some of these games against some really good teams. If they can score the basketball, I think that offsets a little bit. But the best case scenario is Michael Nwoku comes into his own in the post, and you get some production down there, and you really are able to do a lot of different things. So that's the big thing. And then talking about the women, I didn't really know what to expect, and I don't know if we have all the answers just yet on Sam Purcell's team. But I think what we're seeing early is this has the potential to be a better team than last year as far as the depth is concerned. And I think the chemistry is going to be better with this team down the stretch. Now, right now, I don't think they're there. I think you saw that in the second game against Alcorn State. I think we saw a lot of turnovers, maybe trying to do a little too much, maybe not being on the same page. That's a very common theme for teams that have such a great roster turnover. But this team, to me, is more athletic, faster, longer. What we're seeing right now from Medina Okot, who is a difference maker for Mississippi State, is a player that is very uncommon at that size at her position to be 6'6", as long as she is, very fluid, very comfortable out there. She doesn't look like a player that came from overseas and is just getting used to this style of basketball in the States. She looks like a player that belongs. Now, there's a few kinks that she has to work out, but I think she's going to be very good this year for the Bulldogs. And I really like what they have at the guard spots, too. If they can have Anaya Russell be a consistent player for them at the other guard position with your Kayla Jordan, and you have that second scorer there at the guard position, you have the facilitator at point guard and Denham DeShields, and you have a three-point shooter and DeBrusha Poe who can kind of stretch the floor as a 4 or a 3. This team has some depth. They're very deep. I like Destiny McFall a lot coming off the bench. This team has a chance to be really good this year, a lot better than what people thought they were going to be. So team picked, I think, 10th in the SEC preseason. I think they can be middle of the pack. I don't know if they can be top half of the league, top 5, because this league is so deep and so talented. But I think that this is a team that can be in the top 7. That's certainly an NCAA tournament team. And I think, the NCAA tournament could go possibly 10-plus deep for the SEC. That's how good this league is. So, we'll see. I really like this team a lot. We'll see how they progress. I'll be there on Wednesday morning. They're having their kids game, kids day, whatever, education day, whatever, with all the kids that show up. That is going to be Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. And the men play on Tuesday night. I'll be at that game too. They're playing Tuesday night against Southeastern Louisiana. So, all right, guys. So we'll move into questions now. We've got a few questions and comments in. So if you guys have never done this before, obviously there's a chat box over there. I don't charge people for questions, anything like that, like some people do. So you can drop in your questions, comments, and we will talk about it. What's up, Dark Steel? Good to see you guys. Good to see you, Kobe. Justin Tidwell, early predictions for men's basketball season. Do we make the Sweet 16 or the Final Four? Well, they haven't made the Sweet 16 or the Final Four since '96, so it's hard to predict that. That'd be great. I don't think that this team is incapable of doing that. I think there's a lot of questions to answer before you can get into that thought process, though. I think there's just a lot of things that have to happen for Mississippi State. They got to get much better in the post. They got to rebound better. So that's certainly what needs to be done before they can start thinking about Sweet 16. But I've always thought that Chris Jans is a dangerous coach in the NCAA tournament. A guy that the style of play that he's played, and especially on the defensive side, is very difficult to prepare for in a short amount of time. And he's really just been missing some offensive playmakers. State, the first year he was here, nobody could really score, at least from outside the paint. State just could not hit shots, and that was a killer. They were so good defensively, but they struggled in the perimeter. They had so many open looks, they just couldn't hit them. Last year, Josh Hubbard was just about automatic each night, but you didn't know if you were going to get something from Shaq Moore, Rams Davis, DJ Jeffries maybe on a certain night. So offense was still kind of a struggle for you at times. They fixed that in the offseason. It's going to be very difficult for Mississippi State to have, everybody off on the same night. Whether it be Claudel Harris, Josh Hubbard, Kanye Clary, Riley Kugel, Keyshawn Murphy, Cam Matthews, all those guys being off on the same night is going to be very difficult. So, more often than not, you're going to score in the 70s with this team. They have that potential. So now it's just about fixing some of those little things that's going to take you over the top. But they've fixed a lot of the fundamental issues that they have within the program from a roster standpoint. Credit to Chris Jans for saying, I got to change with the times. I got to get a team that's going to be a little more offensive. I don't think they're going to compromise defense at all. I think he's still going to require his guys to play tough on that side of the ball. But at the same time, I think he finally has a team that can score the basketball at least 4 different positions. Jesse Brewer, I think we can really help defensive line in the portal, but offensive line seems to be a harder portal fix. Yeah, and what I've always thought about the offensive line is you need continuity up front. It's very difficult, no matter if you have high school guys, JUCO guys, transfer guys. It's very difficult to put 5 new guys out on the field each year and expect them to gel. That unit has to be on the same page on every single play, and I think that's been the biggest thing. Certainly it just hasn't really worked out like you thought, because I just don't think State's been great on the offensive line this year. I think they've gotten better in run blocking as the year's gone on. It's just the pass blocking has been a struggle. But you're talking about 5 new starters and 4 guys from the transfer portal in that group. And Mississippi State needs some continuity up front. And right now, they just don't have it. So I think that's a big issue. The defensive line's a little bit different. You can put different pieces out there, and they interchange throughout the game, things like that. So yeah, I think it can be helped with the portal. The question is, can they get those players? Can they get a Jaheim Otis to come in here? I think a Jaheim Otis type player changes a lot of things for you on the defensive line, but it remains to be seen. We haven't seen if they can do it yet. They didn't do it last year. They got, I think, 3 guys out of the portal, and none of them had been super productive at their previous schools. They need guys that have done it and have done it at a high level. They can come in and impact Mississippi State next year, and we'll see if they're able to do it. Justin Tidwell, can we get Mario Nash back in the boat since FSU fired their offensive line coach? Hearing he's now flirting with OM. Well, I think that's been going on. They've been recruiting him hard for a while now. I don't think anything changed there. I don't know. I don't have great confidence in it. Jacob Burchell, with the lack of a true elite center, hurt us when we get to conference play. It remains to be seen. It might in a couple of games. I don't think they would match up well with Kentucky. Alabama wouldn't be a great matchup. Auburn obviously would not be a great matchup with Janai Broome. Florida would not be a great matchup. So yeah, there's a few teams that it would be you would have to really have some help and some really good play. We'll see how it progresses. Blake McDaniel needs some women's soccer content. Yeah, shout out to the women's soccer team today. You get a number 1 seed, first time in school history. Once again, another first time historic moment for them. And they will play on Saturday against Southern University, I believe. Kind of crazy they don't have a release up on the website yet. It's been like 3 hours since that was announced. They play Southern University at 5 p.m. on Saturday at Starkville. So, I mean, if you guys are wanting to get to this, you better get tickets because, like I always say, Mississippi State fans support winners. And I can imagine that place is going to be slammed packed on Saturday night. No game for the Bulldogs, wide open for people to come to the game. It's going to be a great atmosphere. And if they win that, matched up with the winner of Utah State and Washington, Utah State's had a really good year, 18-1-4. But James Armstrong has just been incredible this year. They have 17 wins, 17-2 on the year. The other day they struggled against South Carolina, but prior to that, they'd only given up 5 goals the entire season, and they've been really good at home. So this is good for them. They have a chance to go to the Final Four without leaving Starkville. If they win out, I believe they can advance all the way to the Final Four without leaving Starkville. That's a pretty big deal. Anthony Frederick, Kamario Taylor, Yeah, got an offer from Georgia. Um, I haven't heard anything that would be concerning about him. He's pretty locked in with Mississippi State, but always bears watching. I mean, when you recruit players that other teams want, like at that stage, that comes with the territory. State's got to get better players. They have a legit quarterback in this class. It just comes with it. Eugene Ross feels like the football program is just dead. Recruiting, uniforms, stadium experience, on-field results. How did we get here? Um, just not good leadership um, prior to this, and haven't built on it since then. Coaching, recruiting, didn't recruit well, didn't evaluate well. Uh, just pretty much everything. I mean, they haven't done a good job. Didn't invest what they needed to in the program. I think John Cohen was locked in on football, and so that's where you are. And you got a massive hole you got to dig out now. Jesse Brewer, any chance MSU hires Pernell McPhee in the offseason? I don't know. Still kind of early for him. I think he's just been basically doing, grad assistant or whatever defensive assistant work at Michigan or wherever he is. So, it would be a gamble. He hasn't, I don't know if he's recruited or anything. I would certainly pull him in if he wants to come in as a defensive assistant or defensive analyst or something. I would definitely do that if he's willing to do it. I don't know if he is, but yeah, I'd reach out for sure. Jeff Lebby should definitely do that. Justin Tidwell, do you think we'll offer Kamaro Taylor's brother? I don't know. He's. I don't think he's ready for that just yet, but we'll see. Bryce Hall, could you and Brian try and get Charlie Winfield back on the podcast the next few weeks? I think it'd help a lot of people hear from Charlie. We usually talk to him, every now and then. We might try to get him at some point. Big Mix, what are your thoughts on the rumored staff changes on the offensive side of the ball related to Oklahoma staff changes? I don't know what they're going to do. It's kind of tricky because I don't think that Tucker's done anything to lose his job. Certainly not Chad Bumpus. You could argue on the offensive line, move some things around. Joe John Finley from Oklahoma, I think, is a name that a lot of people have brought up with their staff changes they're having there as a possibility. If you do that, you're probably going to have to move him to tight end, and I don't think Lebby's going to get rid of John Cooper, so he'd probably have to move to offensive line, and that would mean Cody Kennedy being out. But I haven't heard of any staff changes just yet on that side of the ball. Defense, you got to. You can't run it back with the same crew. Random Yoda, are players following coordinators in the transfer portal at all? How many defensive pieces do we get out of the portal next year after DC change? Yeah, there's some. You'll certainly see some guys follow coaches. State had one this past year, Nathan Miner. I don't know if he was totally following John Cooper, but that was a connection. So, yeah, it happens all the time. How many defensive pieces do we get? Better get a bunch. I mean, I'm talking 15 plus. You're going to have almost an entirely new two deep. Bryce, we talked about Mario Nash a few minutes ago. You can go back and listen here shortly if you want. Dark Steel, on the off chance that Hutzler is retained, will the defense be better with another year in the system? It just depends on the players. If he's got some of the same kind of players, absolutely not. Better players, yeah, I think it can be better. I think, to me, the number one issue for Mississippi State is players. A lot of people have made it a Coleman Hutzler thing. I don't believe that Coleman Hutzler is 100% the issue, but I do think that it's kind of a conundrum that you're in because you need you have to have better players, and to get better players, I don't know if Coleman Hutzler is going to be able to sell what Mississippi State needs him to sell to get him here. You're gonna have to spend a lot of money anyway, but I just don't know if Mississippi State can sell that with their current staff because players are going to look at it and say, "Why should I come play here when you just finished 130th in the country in defense?" That's a problem. That's an issue, and that's going to be a big issue for them in recruiting. We're already seeing it right now. They're losing guys in their high school and junior college class. They've lost 3 guys, 2 of which I think could have helped them next year. They've already lost them. And you got players visiting. Zay Hardy, I don't know what he's going to do. It's hard to consider him committed because every week he's somewhere else. So, I don't know what he's going to do. That's a guy that you're hoping helps you. At that point, I mean, you don't keep him. What do you have on the defensive line? Nothing. You've brought in nothing. You've done nothing to fix your issues. So, David Turner right now, he's been incredible at Mississippi State throughout his career. I can't point to a lot of positives of what he's bringing to the table right now. And it's hard to believe because he's been so good. Look at his resume, what he's done at Mississippi State over the years. Look at everybody he's been involved in, either as a coach or in recruiting. And he hasn't been able to upgrade Mississippi State's talent at all since he's been here. The last class hasn't added anything to the table. And you look at this class, there's virtually nothing in it. You have 1 high school defensive lineman right now, and you have Zay Hardy, who, like I said, is going to Florida, Ole Miss. Like he's visiting somewhere every week. So, just not a lot to be excited about on the defensive side right now. They need something to shake that up badly. And if they run it back, I'm telling you, there is going to be a complete lack of confidence within this fan base and Jeff Lebby to look at the defense and not say, this is totally unacceptable. We've got to have wholesale changes. We've got to do something different. If you can't do that as a head coach, season ticket sales are going to be at an all-time low at Mississippi State in this current era. People are going to stop donating to the Bulldog Initiative or the State Excellence Fund, whatever, and they're really going to have a problem on their hands. So, to me, there is no other way out of this for Mississippi State than to make some changes. I don't see it. I don't see a way that Mississippi State can win next year without making a massive change there. And again, like I don't think that speaks totally on Coleman Hutzler. That it's a very strange situation because I do see an avenue where Coleman Hutzler is a good defensive coordinator. I do see an avenue where he has success, but not at Mississippi State without talent. And to get talent, you got to sell something. And to sell something, you have to have some kind of resume, some kind of film past that you've had, and he doesn't have it. He's never been a coordinator before. So State's in a tough position with him. And Jeff Lebby, I understand, that's a guy he's worked with, and he probably doesn't want to blame everything on him right now. But you got to do what's best for Mississippi State, and you are in a very fragile situation right now as a program, in that you're in state with a team that has embraced the changing landscape, unlike what Mississippi State did at the very beginning. They've gone all in on it, and it's paid off. And they have a train rolling down the hill right now while Mississippi State's trying to climb the hill. And it's just very difficult. This is a pivotal point in Mississippi State football and athletics history. And if Zach Selman and Jeff Lebby don't find a way to get out of it, then Mississippi State is in a lot of trouble. And it's going to be very dire. So very important offseason on the way. Jacob Rochelle, any insight on how aggressive State will be in the offseason portal? There's obviously many holes in the roster to fill, but will this staff try to simply fill it or compete for top guys? They got a lot of money waiting in the wings. People have invested in this offseason. So it's up to them to go get it. They have money that can compete with some top guys, but they're going to have to overspend on a lot of players too. And there's some players on this roster you need to retain. You need to keep Kevin Coleman, Mario Craver. I think you need to keep Michael Van Buren, Isaac Smith, Zachary Tillman, a few of the pieces on the defensive side. There's a lot of money that's about to be spent on NIL by Mississippi State just to try to get them back into a competitive state. And the hope is once you get into a competitive state, the fans really start to embrace it a little bit, and you got money coming in, and then you can kind of get back on track. That's best case scenario. Best case scenario for Mississippi State is you have a good offseason in the portal. You get to where maybe you can get bowl eligible next year, which is what we talked about preseason this year. Could Mississippi State get to 6 wins? Can they do that next year? That's a slow build, but that's a big step forward. You do that, you get people excited again about Mississippi State. Ticket sales are going up. Money is coming into the revenue share. People are starting to give more money to NIL, and then you can kind of stabilize it a little bit. Again, that is best case scenario. I don't see a situation where Mississippi State is in the playoff next year or anything like that. I think best case scenario is next year is a step forward, and you get better and you start to get people invested again. Worst case scenario is you run it back with this group. You don't really bring in much talent. You lose some of the talent that you have, and it's a complete disaster next year, and you're having to make another coaching change. That is worst case scenario. So State needs to be towards the best case scenario. And to do that, I think players are the most important thing at this point. Me Talk Music, do you think Martavius Russell will see the court more this season at some point? Yeah, he could. I mean, there's just so many players out there. I don't know where he fits, but he could see some more time. It's just going to be tough for him to get on the court with all the guard play that they have right now. It's just so deep. Anthony Frederick, I put a little blame on Levy because he should have insisted on Hutzler coming to State immediately instead of staying with Bama to the playoffs. I don't think that ultimately mattered. It just adds to the frustration that he wasn't here all the time. But he was here for everything Mississippi State needed him to be. He was here for all the visits on campus, unofficials or officials. He was contacting recruits during that whole process. So, I think that's just a thing that's just kind of annoying that he was putting his focus elsewhere, and he wasn't 100% locked in with Mississippi State. But I don't think it made much of a difference with where Mississippi State is now. Bryce Hall, has Deontay Anderson been pretty good, or has he played much? With him being a 4-star recruit, I figured we would have seen or heard something about his play. I mean, yeah, he's playing. He's just, he hasn't been very effective. Nobody has up front. They haven't had a single defensive lineman that I would say has been very good. They're just not a good defensive line, and I don't know if that's a Turner thing or if that's I lean towards it just being more a talent thing by the group, but it's been really difficult. Trayon Williams is their leading tackler with 28 tackles, and he has 2 tackles for loss. Jeez. What's Deontay Anderson done? 16 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. That's it. Which that might be their leading tackle for loss guy on the defensive line. Ugh. Yeah, it's been rough. All right, we'll shut it off there. Thanks, guys. Again, if you want to watch the rest of this that you missed, this should go into the archives under live, under the videos. You should be able to see that very shortly after I end this, so you can go back and watch whatever you want to watch. A reminder, Mississippi State men play tomorrow night in men's basketball, so looking forward to seeing you guys at the Hump. hopefully it'll be a good crowd there for a 6:30 p.m. tip. And then Sunday, a very big game in South Haven against Utah. That's a good test for them. It's going to be on ESPN2 on Sunday at 3 p.m. And then the women, obviously, they are back in action on Wednesday, like I said, against Alabama State, 11 a.m. And then Sunday, they play at home against Chattanooga at 2 p.m. So I'll be at that. Paul Jones, I think, is going to South Haven. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe he'll be there for that coverage. So stay tuned for that. Once again, please subscribe to this channel. Come subscribe to Maroon and White Daily. $1 off your first month at Maroon and White Daily, or first week at Maroon and White Daily, and then you get 50% off an annual subscription. So come check us out. All right, guys. Again, no game this week. We got a bye week, so not a lot of football. We're going to be focused on basketball. Soccer team's going to be in town on Saturday night, so come check that out as well. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great rest of the week. Catch you down the road.